Nah, it's going okay.
Not me forgetting to start the recording.
Well, it is going to be better because now you're on Triple Threat.
Yeah, now we're recording.
Yeah, I get to talk about some hockey.
With Shane, Hayden, and Jeremy.
Right.
Yeah, I guess that's a good way to
on
look at it.
WXJM.org and 88.7.
Speaking of recording, we have a YouTube channel. It's called Triple Threat Show on YouTube. You should go check it out. It's super cool.
What is it? Can you,
Yeah.
It's on YouTube.
It's on
now, what is
YouTube.
the name of the channel?
Triple Threat Show.
Triple Threat Show.
Yeah.
Thank you.
The icon is like a little pencil drawing on white, on like a white lined paper. I took it drew it in class actually, you know? It's a bubble letter T. It's bubble 3 and then 2 bubble T's over it in a circle. It says triple at the top and thread at the bottom.
I love that you're spending money to go to school to doodle in class
what
logos.
else are you supposed to do?
Fair enough.
It's for his SMAD major.
It's
Never
working
mind. It's
towards
academic. The broadcasting kind of
things
and branding and media. It's gonna be a work in progress.
Okay, fair enough. Got me there.
Yeah. So I'd like to start this show like we always do, with a little bit of a sprinkling of the JMU Sports Report.
Oh, I got a good transition. You know how I said I've had a rough week?
Sure.
Some of the members of the JMU sports teams also have had some pretty rough weeks.
I'm so glad you transitioned us into that so beautifully, Shane.
Thank you.
Yes. There's some good news and some bad news, right? We'll start with the good news. JMU officially moved into the Sun Belt Conference. Snaps for JMU. Their official move will be no later. I hear you, Hayden. It's coming through.
He's doing it. I'm so proud of you, Hayden.
First episode.
Hey,
First episode, he complained about not being able to snap, and now he's there.
I'm there, finally.
Oh,
it's been a week-long, month-long journey. Months. Plural.
It's been a bit, but, we finally got there. Practice makes perfect, as they say.
Anyways, back to Sunbelt.
Sunbelt Conference. They will join no later. They're officially, the latest date, July 1st, 2023. They are assuming they're assumed to move in quicker because of the bad news, as Shane so beautifully alluded to earlier. The CAA, hearing this news, decided, hey, you know what? I actually don't want you to do that. That's not very cool. You are a very big school for us. There's only 9 of us, and you're the one that wins most of the time, is all I'm saying, So actually, because you're leaving, you're not allowed to win anything anymore. You're not allowed to participate in any CAA championships.
Even though they've already played most of the seasons for some of the teams.
Exactly, yeah. Luckily this came out late enough for there's only three organizations that were allowed to compete. One of them is because of a special rule, and that's football. I'll get to that in a little bit. But the 2 that escaped, because it happened, they announced this the week of, field hockey and women's soccer, both were allowed to compete. I'll get into how they did in a little bit. I just want to cover this a more broader stroke, because this is a huge deal. I don't know if people outside of JMU have seen this, but it's been a big deal all around campus.
Mm-hmm.
From what I can tell on the internet, too, it's been made a little bit of an upswelling. Not enough to make a huge difference, but there's something there,
Mm-hmm.
So basically, the CAA banned us. They were like, hey, you're not allowed to do this.
Which is incredibly petty.
It's incredibly petty.
Especially when, the season is almost over. They were in playoff positions, and then you just block them off like that.
Right. JMU, they obviously appealed this. But so what happened in the appeal was they went to the Board of Presidents. Presidents from all 9 at the time, including JMU, all 9 presidents of the schools voted whether or not this should happen. And quote from the article, overwhelmingly they denied the appeal. Which means, in my opinion, how I'm choosing to spin it, every other president is scared of us. We're too good. They're terrified.
They would rather not face the best team in the, a legitimate playoff team. They would rather have the easy way.
Right.
Because they don't want to face, a contender.
Mm-hmm. Now, the CAA is allowed to do this because of an old, outdated bylaw that is in the CAA Constitution, and they used this back when Old Dominion left for Conference USA back in 2013. So this isn't a new thing. This is something that has precedent. So it's not like it's a massive shock. I didn't know any of this coming in. I hadn't followed the CAA's history of this before, but looking at their history, they do this every time, right? So JMU probably should have been expecting this, if I'm being honest, but it's still not okay.
It's still a jerk move.
Right, it's still not okay. The commissioner, when he was being interviewed about this, he said, and I quote, "It's not my job to determine whether it makes sense or not. It's my job to make sure the bylaws are enforced the way they're written." Which, first of all, what? What are you even talking about? It is absolutely your job to make sure this is fair.
Yeah.
You are the president of a NCAA, of a collegiate conference. This is not for you. This is supposedly for the athletes, right? It's your job to make sure that everything is fair and done by the books, as you say, but it is also part of your job to make sure it's fair.
Yeah, you have the authority to, like, change the rules or, like, not enforce it.
Right.
Like, that's within your power. It's within your jurisdiction. That's also part of your job.
JMU also is not the only school to announce that they're moving conferences.
Mm-hmm.
For instance, there's Cincinnati, and also a few others moving to the Pac-12. A bigger moving from the Group of Five to the Power Five. It's a bigger move, but there's 8 of them. 8 different colleges have announced that they are moving to a different conference. JMU and the CAA are the only one to do something like this. Every other conference is celebrating their time together. They're saying, "Hey, thank you for everything that you've done."
So showing, basic decency.
Decency, empathy, thanks for propelling.
Appreciation, professionalism.
Right. The CAA, as one of my friends so eloquently put it, is acting like a 5-year-old who lost a game and responded by taking their toys and going home.
Yeah. It's pathetic and childish.
Pathetic and childish. There was backlash on Twitter when this came out. Stars of JMU and just people that go to JMU, alumni, they were going out. They used the hashtag #LetUsPlayCAA. That was there for a day.
Mm-hmm.
It's not doing much. But I mean, what even is the CAA without JMU? Let's be honest. Who do they have? They got William and Mary. They have Elon. They have Towson. They have Drexel.
But not really any big, huge name schools.
There's 3 other teams I can't even think of.
Yeah.
Towson, did I say them? I don't even know.
I haven't even heard of some of these schools until I came here and started doing the JMU Sports Report. I didn't even know what these colleges were, some of them.
Right, these are tiny schools. These are schools that the CAA is dying. Without JMU, the CAA is dying. I'm going to say this right now. What they did...
And then no one's going to want to join because this shows how they treat their teams.
Right. CAA is a dying conference, and what they did is not going to... It's not going to pull many teams.
Win over any new.
It's not going to win... Exactly, thank you, Shane. It's not going to win anyone over. It's just going to propel them faster into the dark depths
obscurity.
Thank you. You're taking the words right out of my mouth. This is great. I'm fumbling over my words, but you have it. Just to summarize, CAA
that JMU
sucks.
Education for you.
Yeah, CAA sucks, and they're gonna die in darkness right now. That's the path they're on. They deserve it too. I don't know if you have any thoughts, Hayden, on this. I know Shane.
I think you guys summed it up perfectly.
It's super petty.
Yeah.
There's not much more to say.
We've already had COVID ruin a year of sports for us.
A year plus.
Yeah,
right.
A year plus. We don't need some other outside source ruining it for the athletes.
Yeah, this is just targeting the athletes.
And especially right before playoffs, teams that are in a playoff spot. It wouldn't have mattered if they didn't make it, but since they're in the position for playoffs, and right before they were about to start, that's when they decided to do it.
I mean, I think bringing like COVID back up here is really important. Important because some of these athletes, their entire collegiate career is pretty much taking place during COVID right now.
Yeah.
Like, there's people who been here for 3 years, and it's either been COVID or now getting shut down because of the CAA.
Yeah.
And, like, that's not fair at all.
Especially for the seniors, too.
Yeah.
Like, this is their last year, one last hurrah at the... Like, how nice would it be if you finished off your college career with a championship?
Absolutely.
And now you don't even have a chance to compete for it.
And it sucks. You were mentioning some teams that already clinched. The men's soccer team, for instance, they had clinched and they had one more regular season game. They had clinched a playoff spot, and they were ready to go. This comes out, they're not allowed to compete. The women's volleyball team, we've been following them for a while. They have been absolutely killing it. They are currently tied for first place in the CAA. But you know what?
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. They're not going to be able to compete. This is just taking away from student athletes. This is not punishing JMU, because JMU will have other years. All this is doing is attacking the student athletes that don't have other years to do this. And frankly, it really isn't okay. If you're for the students, you have to be for the students. There's really no excuse for this, honestly.
Anyway.
I'm glad I got that. I'm glad we got that off, but there was actual sports that happening. All the CAA did was bar us from championships. They did not bar us from playing. And one of those teams that are playing, the basketball teams, they are kicking off their seasons this week. Now, basketball, I'll keep referring to the bars because some teams have no chance without it. Basketball is probably one of them, but they have the greatest chance of making it to the tournament in basketball as opposed to any other sport because of how it works. So when you win your division, your conference, you get an automatic spot in the March Madness tournament, right? JMU's not allowed to compete in that. They have a chance at the at-large bid. That's not, honestly, probably not going to happen because JMU doesn't play the competition that the committee looks for. And unless they go undefeated, they probably don't stand much of a chance. But there's a chance. Their season starts. They can go undefeated, both the women and the men. They start off their season this week. The men's team starts at 2 home games this week. On Wednesday versus Carlow University, and then actually a future Sun Belt rival versus Old Dominion on Saturday.
Hey.
That's actually also a previous CAA rival. So that's a big game. That's going to be big for the future.
Is that home or away?
That is home. These are both home games.
All right. I may go to the ODU one.
And that's a big one. That's on Saturday. So let's show up. Support the basketball
This Saturday?
team. This Saturday, yeah. All of this is this week.
All right.
And
well,
then
my weekend availability is still up in the air, so.
And then, like I mentioned, the women's basketball team, they also start. They start the day before. They start this week. But they actually had an exhibition game, like the day of our show last week. They absolutely demolished Shepherd. 74-46 final score.
Jeez.
Right. And that's an excellent way to start. Excellent way to start. Did not count, but now it counts. They kick off the regular season versus Virginia on Tuesday. It's women's basketball. It's going to be a big matchup against a big school. Women's basketball at Virginia isn't as good as the men's team, but it's still a big school and a good team.
And it's a fun rivalry with a close by rival.
Right. And then they go and play another big team. These are both at home, by the way, versus Maryland on Sunday. And that Maryland is actually the 4th ranked team in the country right now.
Ooh.
So that's going to be an excellent matchup. Go ahead and beat Maryland. That's an excellent way to try and get that at-large bid into the tournament.
Wouldn't hurt.
No, absolutely not. Wouldn't hurt. That's the understatement of the year right there, Shane.
That's kind of the point.
And then I mentioned the football team very briefly before. They continued their tear through the FCS. Final year in the FCS, by the way, moving up to the Sun Belt with a 51-14 win versus Campbell on Saturday. With the win, they improved 8-1 on the season and 5-1 in conference. And they also have moved all the way back up to the number 2 spot in the FCS poll. If you remember, before their loss, they were constantly sitting at number 3. New high for the season. Along with that, our quarterback, Cole Johnson, was named a CFPA National Performer, was named to the CFPA National Performer of the Year watch list midway through the season. So there were 34 players named to this list, and that's basically saying the best FCS player of the year. So he's basically in the Heisman running for the FCS kind of thing, which is awesome. It's awesome to see.
He's always been like consistent, 200-ish yards per game.
Right, but he's thrown 302 games. He's thrown for 4 touchdowns, I think, in at least 3 games.
Set a new school record for passing touchdowns.
6 touchdowns against, I don't remember what team, on November 30th.
Yeah.
I mean, he's having an incredible season.
November?
October.
October, okay.
Yeah, it was like a few weeks ago.
Yeah, that's why I was confused.
Right, my bad.
It was funny looking at his stats this week. Would you like to?
Go for it.
He only completed 11 passes on 20 attempts, and he still managed to get 200 yards or something like that. So he was so it's all his passes were going deep.
Right,
I
that's
thought
efficiency.
I thought that was interesting. Where it's you had 11 passes and you still got over the 200-yard mark. So you're throwing 20 yards. It's he's I don't know what the scheme is, but just nailing these long passes.
Hey, you love to see it,
Yeah.
whatever works.
Makes it more entertaining.
Right. So their next game is a ranked opponent in the FCS. Conference game against the 25th ranked William & Mary on Saturday. Now I mentioned the men's soccer team. They did finish their season this week. Unfortunately, we talked about it. They're not going to be able to continue after this. They finished their season with a 2-1 loss versus Northeastern. But it's all right. They had a really good season. They finished with a record of 11-5-1, in conference record of 5-3. It really was a super strong season by them. You had some really strong performers throughout the weeks.
The defense,
right,
phenomenal during stretches.
Yeah, they had plenty of Player of the Week awards throughout the entire season, and we look forward to what they can do in the Sun Belt next year. Then one of the teams that competed, we'll get to the 2 teams that competed in the championships now. We got field hockey and soccer. The field hockey team, they made it the furthest out of the 2 teams. They made it to the finals after beating Northeastern 2-1 in the semifinals. And then they faced Delaware, and they lost 3-1 in the finals. So that's a second-place finish. Excellent way to go at.
Yeah.
Solid. Obviously would like to win, but that's as close as you can get.
Honestly, it's an honor that they even got to play.
Right.
Seeing their fellow peers, too.
Yeah. And then before the championships, field hockey updates after our show, Tuesdays. We don't get the news, but Cassidy Strittmatter, she won her 3rd straight CAA Rookie of the Week award. And the Dukes finished at the 24th rank in the top 25 for field hockey. Also, with the end of the season comes end of season awards.
Swagger.
Exactly. Evelyn Swagger.
Goal scoring machine.
She was named CAA Player of the Year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. That's
She
awesome.
had 16 goals in 19 games.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
And on top of that, the head coach, Christy Morgan, was named CAA Coach of the Year.
It's just weird how it's just they're still giving JMU these great individual accolades and still.
Right.
Yeah.
It's frustrating.
Yeah.
It really is. That's what it boils down to.
Yeah. So you're willing to say, oh yeah, best player in the division, but still don't want to let them compete in playoffs.
Yeah. It's
Doesn't
a
make
mess.
sense.
It really is a mess. The other team that competed, women's soccer, they made it to the semifinals, where they fell 1-0 versus Hofstra. Hard-fought game. It's not bad, though. Not all bad. Because, like I said, end of season comes end of season awards. The women's soccer team had 4 players named to the All-CAA team. Ebony Wiseman, Ginger Deal, Brittany Musson, and Amanda Atanasi were all named to the All-CAA team. That is an awesome amount of people.
Especially as a freshman.
Right.
Amanda Atanasi, huge fan of her.
Right. It's great that we have this much representation in the award at the end of season awards. This is saying this is the best lineup out of everyone in the CAA.
Yeah.
We got 4 of them. That's awesome. That's so great to see. And then big comeback. The women's swim and dive team started out 0-2, right?
Yeah.
Came into this weekend at the CAA pod meet, trying to get some revenge for the school. They absolutely did it. They went 3-0 this weekend, sweeping the CAA pod meet, beating all 3 teams. First one, 210-136 versus William and Mary.
Jeez.
180-172 versus UNCW. And finally, an absolute blowout, 252-100 versus Delaware.
That is... Ooh, jeez, Delaware, I'm sorry.
So they're now 3-2 on the season, 3-1 in conference, and swimming and diving is actually an individual sport. So they are allowed to compete for individual awards at the CAA stuff. So they are now completely out of it.
This doesn't make any sense.
It's like Russia and the Olympics.
It doesn't make any sense.
Right. So individual sports like track and field and women's and swimming and diving, they're allowed to compete because it's individual. It doesn't make a lot of sense, but that's
it's like Russia with the Olympics.
Yeah, that's a good way to explain
it. Again, it's just... Let's just move on from that.
Right, so the diving, so it's kind of swimming and diving separate sometimes. This is the first time they'll be separated this season. The diving team is going to the NC State Invitational next, and the swimming team is going to the Fall Frenzy, and that is going to happen from November 18th to November 21st. Excuse me. Right, so then women's tennis team, they finished their slate at the Seahawk Ocean Classic on Sunday, where they swept the doubles play, winning every single doubles match, and winning 5 of the singles matches, absolutely dominant in their final performance of the fall. It's great to see. We love to see them winning.
Go Dukes.
Go and represent. Then finally, last but not least, we got the women's volleyball team. They're currently 6-16 on the season, or 16-6. I'm sorry.
Just gonna say
right, 16-6 on the season, 10-4 in conference, and they split their season. They split the weekend series versus Towson. As we mentioned last week, Towson was tied with them for first place in the CAA, which is going to be a massive, massive match. They split. They won the first game 3-0, and they lost the second one 3-1. But as you like to say, they have never lost 2 in a row. Not once.
They've never
lost 2 in a row.
Yeah, 2 in a row, yeah.
Never lost 2 in a row. So,
5-0 after a loss this season.
Right.
So pretty much guaranteed final spot.
They're still tied for the first place in the CAA, and they go and they definitely beat Hofstra in the weekend doubleheader to finish their season. Love to see them in the playoffs, but what are you going to do?
So they have one more game left this weekend?
They got the weekend series. That's
2 games.
The 2 games, Saturday, Sunday versus Hofstra. That is at Hofstra, so that's not at home. They had their senior night last weekend.
Yeah.
So
they're just playing just to finish out the year.
Right, show them how dominant you are.
Any CAA players of the week with that?
Oh, we got one.
One thing to mention, I don't know what the player of the week is, but Savannah Marshall, she is currently at 975 career digs.
That's a lot of digs.
So by the end of this weekend, over 1,000 digs for the senior Savannah Marshall.
That's awesome to hear. There was only one CAA player of the week this week total, which is a little bit of a drop down from 6 and 7 the last 2 weeks, but I've had one of these at least. I've had at least one of these every single week that we've had a show, which is awesome. As I mentioned, Cassidy Strittmatter, rookie of the week,
soccer.
Third week in a row.
Field hockey.
Yeah. Third week in a row. It's awesome to see that. Congratulations once again. So at this point, I would like to remind everyone that you are listening to WXJM Harrisonburg 88.7 FM and WXJM.org. This is Triple Threat. I am Jeremy, joined by my friends and co-hosts
Shane
and
Hayden.
And Shane, if you would like to take us into your hockey segment, that would be amazing.
All right, so to start off with, the Washington Capitals, they've been hit with the injury bug early on, and it's hit their top 6 forward core. TJ Oshie, Nicholas Backstrom, and Anthony Mantha all out for a good period of time with injuries. Backstrom and Oshie, I think they're more like week to week. Mantha's out for a few months with a shoulder injury.
I saw Oshie was supposed to be out for 6 weeks when he was hurt. When he first got hurt. I don't know how long it's been since he got hurt. I think that was the first week of the season.
Yeah, that's why I said weeks. Like I'm not too. All I knew when he was injured, I didn't really know the duration, but all I know is they pretty much just lost their entire second line and key pieces on their power play for a long duration of time. So they're going to have to really rely on their young guys in forward depth to step up, like guys like Connor McMichael, Henrik Lapierre, and their other call-ups. They're really going to have to lean on them to for additional goal scoring support.
Right.
And Ovechkin is still on a good scoring pace, but he can't do it all.
On a good scoring pace? What do you mean? He's on an
phenomenal scoring
more
pace.
Than a goal a game?
I mean, it's Ovechkin.
How many games are they in? I know he's 11 goals, but I don't know exactly how many games they're in. I think that they're somewhere
He's
got
to be close to a goal a game right now.
Might be more than a goal a game. That is an insane rate.
At 36, 37,
hey,
Russian machine.
Hey, you know what I'm feeling? I'm feeling an 82-goal season.
Why not?
What's the record?
And he also tied Brett Hull too.
Oh yeah. Do you know the record for goals in a season?
It's got to be 90 something, 90? 92?
Really?
I think set by Brett Hull too.
90?
He has 10 goals in 11 games, and I can find out.
No, he had a goal tonight, so he's at 11.
I'm talking about. This is going off of Sports Reference,
right.
So
maybe they didn't count it for him. The tip in.
No, they did.
Oh, they did. All right.
I believe so. That's what the broadcast said. But
yeah, no, the broadcast.
And he just tied Brett Hull, 741.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
You said 90 goals. How do you score 90 goals in a season? That's insane.
The era of bad goaltending, pretty much.
But still, 90 goals. That's.
I believe it was by Brett Hull too.
I mean, it's got to be one of those top goal scorers, but still, 90.
92 by Gretzky.
Oh, it was Gretzky? Of course, it was Gretzky.
That's
And the
crazy.
1981-82 season.
All right.
That's crazy.
And then it was Gretzky again with 87, and then Brett Hull with 86.
All right. Okay, moving on. Carolina, their winning streak comes to an end. They were 9-0 until they lost to the Florida Panthers.
That's a shame.
Helping them with their 9-game win streak was Frederik Andersen with a 1.83 goals against average and a 939 save percentage, and a goal save above expected of 9.5. It's pretty much an advanced stat where it's pretty much they consider the quality of scoring opportunities taken, and it's pretty much saying he saved 9.5 goals that usually would be goals against an average goalie.
Mm-hmm.
He saved them.
That's pretty good.
And then Florida, they are the other top team in the league. Before tonight, before losing to the Rangers, they did not lose in regulation. They were 10-0-1, and I think the one overtime loss came to the Tampa Bay Lightning. Good competition. But they just lost to the New York Rangers, so now they're 10-1-1. Still top team in the league right now.
It's pretty good.
Sergei Bobrovsky, big help from him, with a really good bounce back.
Is he back to being himself?
It looks like it. The numbers say so.
I know he was struggling since he signed the contract.
Yeah, after he got paid with a massive contract.
Right.
He hasn't really looks like he's living up to it for now. He's had a good start to the season.
Good.
7 games played, 1.72 goals against average, and a 948 save percentage. And he has a goal saved above expected of 14.4.
14?
That's according to Hockey Reference.
Shoot, all right.
So that's how their season's going. Another player who's on a hot streak is Troy Terry of the Anaheim Ducks.
Quack, quack.
He's on an
Quack, quack,
11-game
baby.
point streak, and during that time, he has 8 goals and 6 assists. So I remember Troy Terry from the World Junior Tournament, which is pretty much all of the best hockey players under the age of 21 play for their respective countries, and they compete against each other. And in 2017, this man was a legend of the shootout. Because in the international rules, when it goes into overtime and into the shootout, you can put a player out more than once, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this guy went out 3 or 4 times and scored all 3 times against Russia.
That's pretty
Went
cool.
5-hole every time.
That's
And he
awesome.
won them the game. And then in the gold medal game, they went into a shootout against Canada. So he's the 4th shooter. No one has scored yet. I see my man Troy Terry go out there, and I'm like, oh, this one's going in. And do you guess where he shoots? He goes 5-hole again.
Oh, I wouldn't have guessed that.
Game-winning shootout goal because they, the U.S. goalie made the final save. They win the gold for the World Junior Tournament in 2017.
That's awesome.
So this man has a special place in my heart.
Good.
He's a 5th-round pick from Denver in 2015. His signs point to regression in shooting. Like right now he has a 32% shooting percentage, and he's not really a shooter. He's more of a playmaker. But looking at his other advanced stats, he has good possession numbers. They're getting more chances when he's on the ice. So I think he is poised for a breakout year. I see at least 50 points out of him this year.
All right.
So I feel really good about him breaking out.
We love to hear it.
Top 6 minutes, getting all the ice time, good opportunity. Love how his season's going.
Is he a rookie this year?
He's not a rookie. This is like his probably 2nd, 3rd season in the league. Still really young.
Right.
Lot to prove. And Brady Tkachuk, another young gun, is officially named captain of the Ottawa Senators.
Officially or isn't officially?
He's officially named captain of the Ottawa Senators. They haven't had a captain since 2017.
What?
When Erik Karlsson was traded away.
What do you mean they haven't had a captain since 20? Don't
They've-
you have
they've-
to name a captain?
You don't have to. You can just have 3 alternates.
That's what I thought it's for admiral. I really did. I didn't know what it stood for.
It's alternate captain.
Ah, that makes a lot more sense. You know, because it's like boat captain. You know, and then the A is like second in command. It makes sense.
Jeremy, I hate to
Admiral
break
ranks-
to you, but
Admiral is
Admiral
ranked-
outranks the
Is it
captain.
Outrankes
really?
the captain, yeah. Admiral,
Oh.
because it's the equivalent to a general in Army.
Admiral controls all the boats.
Well, looks like I'm in an oopsie.
Anyway, he's only 22 years old, and it was named the 10th captain in franchise history. As I mentioned before, last captain since Erik Karlsson, before relationships soured there and he was traded. Ottawa is very invested in this guy. They gave him the 7-year, $57 million contract. They paid the man, and they believe he's the leader going forward. So, and he's, throughout his career here, he's definitely had that aura about him. Like, he leads the boys in the locker room. He hits. He scores the big goals. And his first game with the C, he actually scored, at the time, was the game-tying goal, 2-2, before they lost to Tampa 5-2.
Hey, you know that's good. You gotta get the
Good,
get
strong
the boys
leader.
buzzing, you know.
Kind of reminds me of Gabriel Landeskog and play style and like where he's at in his career with the captain and stuff. So we'll see. Good luck to him, and hopefully he leads the Ottawa Senators out of this rebuild they're in.
Right.
And now for the big news.
Oh, hold on. Blackhawks fired their coach.
I thought we already talked about that.
Well, you did not.
Oh no, because they fired everybody else but the coach.
I mean, the coach is like
The
not
coach
for,
wasn't a part
not
of.
for those reasons, but because they suck.
Yeah, it's because he sucked. He wasn't really a part of
Yeah,
the
they
last.
fired their
regime.
coach after they started like.
I just don't want to
1-9.
talk about the Blackhawks.
All right, yeah.
They
I
suck.
Thought,
They had it coming to them.
you know, I just thought you should mention.
Yeah, sorry.
Real quick, some
Thanks
coach
for-
firings.
Pointing out, yeah, the Chicago fired their head coach. He's been bad for a while. The Blackhawks have been bad for a while, and I just screw that organization. Anyway, in the big hockey news, Jack Eichel is free from Buffalo. He got traded.
To Anaheim Ducks. Quack, quack, baby.
No, to the Vegas Golden Knights. So Jack Eichel can finally get his surgery, and he can get back to playing hockey in 3 to 5 months.
We love that.
We
3
love
to
it.
5 months. I'm on the edge of my seat.
I'm
Like, that's what doesn't make sense, because the fusion surgery, it would have taken longer for him to recover than the disc replacement. But it's just, an NHL player hasn't had the surgery before, so ownership was...
But you can't take the risk.
Yeah, but, like, several other professional athletes, including, like, MMA fighters, have gotten the surgery. And that's far worse than ice hockey.
Probably.
So, in an exclusive interview with Spit and Chicklets, Jack Eichel said he would have played for Buffalo if they allowed him to get that surgery.
Is that what that meeting was for? Like that last-ditch meeting that we mentioned?
It probably had something to do with it. But, you know, that surgery was just such a huge... They just would not budge on that. He still has 5 years left at $10 million per year. Best case scenario, he may be able to play for the U.S. Olympic team, so cross our fingers, but I'm not too optimistic about that.
I mean, even if he does, I think it's better for him to take more time off and not race to the Olympics, you know?
He's like a guaranteed point-per-game player when healthy. He's still young, in his prime. Vegas has 5 more years of him at $10 million. They also threw in a 2023 third-round pick, so Vegas has that. And then what Buffalo receives. So Buffalo receives Alex Tuck, Peyton Krebs, a conditional first-round pick in 2022, and a second-round pick in 2023.
What's the conditions, do you know?
So Vegas has a ton of injuries this year.
Right.
Mark Stone is injured, Max Pacioretty's injured, and they just traded away Alex Tuck. He was injured too. So that's like top goal scorers on your team. They're off to a rough start because they don't have that offensive production. So it's pretty much saying, hey, if we are really bad this year because of the injuries we've sustained, you're not going to get a top pick. We're going to take advantage of that. And you will just push it off to next year. And that next year's pick isn't lottery protected, but, you know, hopefully everyone's healthy by then and you have a healthy Jack Eichel. It's probably not going to be as high of a pick.
Right, because I know, for instance, the Carson Wentz trade, if he plays 75% of the snaps or something, it turns into a first-round pick as opposed to a third or something. Gotcha. I didn't know if it was like that or...
It was kind of like that. So Alex Tuck, he was drafted 14th overall in 2014 by the Minnesota Wild. He was taken in the expansion draft along with Eric Halla, so Vegas wouldn't pick up someone else. It was weird because you maybe giving up all those assets so they wouldn't pick, you know, maybe like a Matt Dumba from the Minnesota Wild. It was like one of those really good picks Vegas had that boded well for them in their introductory year. So he has, in 255 games played, he has 61 goals, 78 assists, and 139 points. This guy has like 20 goal upside. If the problem is he's been injured a lot these past few years. He's out for 3 more months recovering from shoulder surgery. And he also still has 5 years left at $4.75 million per year. And he's from upstate New York, and he posted on social media that he's very passionate, like he's very happy to be playing for Buffalo because that was like his hometown team growing up.
Right.
So at least you're getting a player that's actually happy to go to Buffalo.
Yeah.
So like good for them. So
I'd be happy to go to Buffalo.
Like he's still young.
I mean, if
in
I'm
his
mid-20s,
mid-20s,
$700,000.
and if you want to flip him, he's like at least worth a second and a third.
Right.
And if he's like starts producing like what he can live up to. And also, Alex Tuck. Do you know the Holtby save?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that's why I remember
Alex
him.
Tuck was the guy.
No, that's why I remember him.
Yeah.
Number 21. No, I remember that.
And then Peyton Krebs, he was the 17th pick in 2019 by Vegas. He's only 20 years old, so he's like a young, talented prospect. From what I've heard by other people who know the NHL prospects more than I do, they are very high on this guy. This guy has a lot of upside. And he is also the 4th first-round pick that was traded away.
The 4th?
So, yeah, Vegas has had their first 4 players they've drafted in the first round. They've traded away every single one of them.
Fun.
So, Suzuki was traded to Montreal.
Right.
Cody Glass traded away in the Nolan Patrick, Ryan Ellis, like 3-team trade. And Eric Brandstrom was traded to acquire Mark Stone. And Suzuki was traded to acquire Pacioretty. So, and now Peyton Krebs is also on that list. So they've pretty much taken like the Los Angeles Rams strategy and was like, who needs to develop prospects when you can just trade for players you can win now with?
Yeah.
Which is a very fun thing to have. And so to the first round picks they have in the system, Brendan Breeson and Zach Dean, have your bags ready. Because you're probably not going to be in Vegas for much longer.
Is that a threat?
Well, it's just, the past 4 first round picks have been traded away.
I think that's a threat.
Sounds like a threat.
Sounds like a threat.
It's just a trend.
Clip it.
What?
I said clip it, Jeremy.
I'm just saying.
Like in the YouTube. Clip that.
Yeah, I got you.
Gotta save that soundbite.
Shane Fredden's a hockey player.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just a trend.
Classic Shane.
According to the trend, it looks like they're going to get traded away.
It says pack your bags. We don't know what he means by that. Pack your bags
It
to
says
heaven?
have your bags ready.
Mm.
Anyway, prospect with the high upside. And Vegas is currently $11 million over the cap if everyone's healthy due to long-term IR rules.
Right.
They are fine right now because everyone's injured. So they're going to have to trade away somebody. The trade candidates are Riley Smith, Braden McNabb, Alec Martinez, and Evgeny Dadonov. Those are the guys with salary that they could try to trade away so they don't get penalized for being over the cap. And then other people are already making the Tampa comparison where miraculously somebody's going to be injured right until playoffs and then they'll have an entire team ready that's $11 million over the cap.
It's a miracle.
Yeah. So,
I mean,
they could pull a Tampa, but who knows? They may get another trade, so they're above the floor by then. So it'll be interesting to see how that develops.
Right.
Honestly, I kind of want to see them pull a Tampa just so I can hear all the complaining about how they're over the cap, even though it's within the rules because of long-term IR stuff.
if I'm a GM, why would I help them get under the cap, though?
Yeah, that's kind of the issue they're running into right now.
Yeah.
Well, maybe you want that guy. You're like, you see him, or I see potential in him. Maybe I
Yeah, but like,
snag him up.
if no one else is taking them, like, you can get them for dirt cheap, Be like, here, I'm giving you Jeremy. He doesn't even know how to skate.
Whoa! Give me a little more credit than that. All right, I can move on the ice. I can move forward and I won't fall down. I can skate and I won't fall down.
Okay.
It was weird because over the offseason, like, people were actually giving up, like, good assets to Tampa. Like, Tyler Johnson got taken for a second-round pick.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, Tampa's got a lot of really good players that they were trading away.
Yeah, like Tyler Johnson.
Are these Vegas players any good?
Yeah, they're all, like, definitely worth something.
Okay.
But they
never
don't
mind.
have the Stanley Cup to add to the value. Because,
Okay.
I mean, Barkley, Goudreau, and Coleman, I think, both left in free agency, though. So that was convenient for them. And then Tyler Johnson was just a second-round pick for them. That's pretty good for a team that you could have, like, lowballed more because they really needed to get rid of salary.
Mm-hmm.
So that's, like, that's all I have for the hockey news right now. Hayden, would you like to take it to baseball?
Well, do you guys want to do baseball or basketball?
Do baseball first, or actually, how long do you think baseball's going to take you?
I can try to speed run it.
Nah, we'll do basketball first then.
Okay.
But before we do basketball, I'd just like to remind everyone that we are on WXJM 88.7 FM Harrisonburg and WXJM.org. This is Triple Threat, hosted by me, Jeremy, Shane, and Hayden.
Hayden, yeah.
Hayden. Yeah, he's also there.
Hayden without the Y.
Yeah. There's two Haydens here. They're both me.
As we mentioned, we'll dive right into basketball. I'll just get through the stuff that isn't the front office situations, because that's going to need a little bit
The
of...
awful men situation?
Yeah, the awful men situation in multiple front offices that we'll dive into a little bit. But first of all, I'd like to give a congratulations to Chris Paul, who passed both Steve Nash and Mark Jackson on Tuesday to move into third all-time in assists.
Nice.
Awesome. Snaps for him. Moving up the leaderboard. You know how it is. Proud of him.
She's still better than Lillard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Better than who?
I don't even know. Like, my brain just... You know who I'm talking
I
about.
didn't hear you.
Better than Damian.
Oh, that's on the radio forever now. I'd just like you to know that.
Okay.
Okay. But you're wrong. LeBron, he's out for 2 months-ish. It's a shame. I mean, he's been dealing with injuries lately, but, I mean, the Lakers should be fine.
I saw it was at least one.
I thought I saw...
Maybe two.
I thought I saw 2.
Has he surpassed
It's up to
Jordan
2.
in points yet, or has he still got a ways to go?
I'm not sure
I
about
can
that.
find out real quick.
Because I know that was a whole...
Yeah, I mean,
whatever.
he's close. I think he might have last year. I could be wrong. He might have passed Jordan, but not first all time. That might be what it is. What, has he scored 61 points in his career? Is
That's points in a game.
Is that what the internet's saying?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah, he's not number 1 all time yet, but...
Right.
He's third, it looks like.
Jordan's 5th.
Right. And then Ben Simmons, real quick, clean that up. He on Monday came out that Tuesday, came out he refused, he is refusing the 76ers mental health doctors, and refuses to meet with the team and their doctors about his mental readiness, which means, no, I'm not coming in. I don't want you to know if I'm ready or not. I'll let you know when I'm ready.
What? This just gets weirder and weirder the more this drags on.
Right.
And now they're finding him,
Yeah,
too.
and as a response, they have decided to fine him for every game he misses, and that started on Thursday. So $360,000 every game he doesn't play. And it's been, like 5 days now? So that's probably like 3 game checks. It's almost $1 million. Maybe a little more.
I mean, how much is his contract?
He has $360 a game. I'm assuming he played 3 games.
No, how much does he make?
How much is he getting paid this?
I don't know.
More, my friend Google.
It's probably 360,000 times 82, which I don't feel like doing.
His salary is $29 million.
That sounds about right. That's not a per year thing, but or maybe it is. I don't know.
5-year, $177 million contract.
All right, yeah, no, 29 a year.
Average salary,
Yeah.
35. Sure. Yeah.
This year he's making $31,590.
All right. And then the bad men. Do you wanna lead us into this, Hayden?
Yeah, I mean, one of them's less bad. We don't know what it is yet.
Right.
And that's the Trailblazers GM, Neil Olshi, is under investigation for workplace misconduct.
Yeah.
That's all that's come out.
That's all we
It's
know.
very vague.
Yeah.
Very vague.
The Trailblazers have come out in a statement. They said whatever the investigation says, we'll deal with that. Whatever the result of that is, then we'll make our decision. He's the president of. He's the head of basketball operations.
He's the general manager.
Who's not?
That's what he's the general manager. That's what that is.
It's a little different.
It's the same thing.
Wait, what are you guys arguing
He's a
about?
head of basketball operations. He's not really the GM, but he's basically the GM.
He tells the GM what to do.
Right. But he's not the GM. He's just the GM's boss.
I'm no basketball.
It's the same thing in baseball.
Yeah. The head of hockey operations. On-ice operations. Not the GM, but like the
They
boss.
make them the head of basketball operations, and then they promote somebody to GM, so that way that GM guy can't get poached by another team.
Yeah.
Sure.
It's basically a second GM. A more powerful GM.
He's just a fancy assistant GM. That's what it is. The GM is.
Yeah. Anyway.
It's weird.
Yeah.
Sports are weird.
That's the deal there. There's not much news coming out yet. Still
We'll
under
probably have
investigation.
news.
Something's gonna come out soon enough. Probably within the week, if I had to guess.
Mm.
But nothing yet. Kyle just yelled at us for leaving the light on.
Oh.
We left it on for him. I did that on purpose, actually.
We left a singular light on for him.
Yeah. So it wouldn't be...
For all those who don't know, Kyle's our roommate. We left the light on the apartment.
Anyways, this one's a bit more serious. 70 current and former employees of the Suns have come out and said that the owner, Robert Sarver, has created a toxic culture filled with racism and misogyny.
Yep. Not fun. Not fun at all. There was one story. It was after a loss to the Warriors in 2016. He stormed into the locker room and reportedly used the N-word multiple times when referring to star Draymond Green.
Oh my God.
While the coach at the time, Coach Watson, who is black, repeatedly told him that he couldn't say that. Couldn't say that. He's like, you can't say that. And he was like, I can say that, I can say it. And he was like, you can't say that multiple times, stuff like that.
Yeah.
That was just one incident.
The one, snippet I saw was a quote from one of the co-owners. And they said, you could make up any story, as racist as you want to make it, or, misogynistic as you want to make it, and I would believe you that happened.
Right. Yeah. That was, like I said, this just one incident. There were a few... It was a really long article. That was the one that I wrote down. There were a few more things in there. But many interviews describe him a toxic and even hostile environment that he created. Of course, he denies the allegations, along with a few members of the Suns front office having his back. Not a lot, just a few. And Chris Paul. He also notably stood behind Sarver. He's the only player that I've heard.
I didn't even know Chris Paul stood up behind.
He came and supported him. He said he hasn't witnessed this.
But 70 other people have.
There's a lot of other people that have. There's more people that have than are defending him, basically.
Yeah.
But it's not to say that there are zero people defending him, which is important,
Yeah.
You can't just, ignore one side.
Well, yeah, as someone mentioned before, just because a person has been good to you, that doesn't make him a good person.
Right, and that's basically what Chris Paul's saying. He's like, he's been really good to me. I can't imagine him doing it.
Because it's the same thing happened with, Jonathan Taze and their initial reaction to the whole Kyle Beach situation. Because it's they were like, but he's a good guy. But you don't know the other half of this. You're biased.
Exactly.
So this is pretty much what's going on with him, I'm guessing.
Yeah. It's probably that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Overwhelmingly, reports are of the latter, of the former, that he did do it. So.
And that can't be a thing that is happening.
Is it still an investigation, or has he been kicked off?
Well, he's the owner.
He's the owner.
Oh wow.
The only thing the NBA can do, and they've done in the past with the Clippers owner. I forget who it was, but they forced the Clippers owner to sell the organization after a similar kind of thing came out. He sold it. He forced him out of the league. That is about the only thing that can be done without him saying, all right, fine, I will put the team up for sale. That's his only check right now, because he's a billionaire,
So, what do you think the NBA is going to do about this?
Adam Silver's a really good commissioner. I'm sure they're investigating to make sure they have the facts straight before they do anything. This is just a report. This is
ESPN, The Athletic.
ESPN, Woj, they got the information, they compiled all the stuff, and they put it out, Nothing is 100% confirmed, because I'm sure the NBA wants to get its own investigators in there before it makes a big decision on stuff. So I'm sure they're also doing investigation there. I'm assuming they're going to probably try and force him out, if I had to guess. Because there's a precedent for that. It was before Adam Silver was commissioner. But there's still a precedent there,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I see no reason. This is, from what I remember, it was a while ago. I was pretty young when this happened. But think it was 2012, if I remember correctly. But it's, from what I remember, it was this kind of thing, just not as much. Like, it was basically this exact situation, from what I remember.
Gotcha.
But again, this was a long time ago, and I'm trying to pull from, like, middle school brain, you know?
Mhm.
Yeah.
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 Gotcha.
On the court play's been good, though. You know, it's been a lot of good NBA action. But off the court,
It's
Off the
been
court.
awful. I mean, just in sports in general. Like, you have the Barstool guy, right? Is it David Portnoy?
David Portnoy.
Portnoy.
What do you do this
Portnoy.
time?
That's a good question.
He was in intimate acts, choking and recording without their consent, and then just being, a general, awful person.
Yeah, he seems like a
Yeah,
a-hole.
yeah, he's kind of the worst.
Yeah,
And
I definitely get that vibe off.
Obviously, then, like, tons and tons of people rush to defend him, because it's Barstool, and that whole culture, Barstool culture.
Toxic, yeah.
I don't like it at all. But
It's really, yeah, it's why.
we could spend an hour and a half just talking about how much I don't like Barstool. So,
Like, it's, like, one of my favorite podcasts, they're a Barstool podcast. So it's kind of, I always, like, flip-flop, like, yeah, I'm not the most supportive of Barstool, but I love the people on the Spit and Chicklets podcast, so it's always, like, a hard flip-flop.
It's the kind of thing where, can you separate the art from the person?
Yeah.
Kind of thing. It's not exactly the same because they are completely different people. It's
Yeah.
just under the brand umbrella.
Yeah.
But it's that kind of idea,
Yeah.
which, some people can and some people can't. Valid either way, but it's just...
Yeah, because, like, I can definitely acknowledge,
It's the
there's
mindset.
some definite, like, some subtle, like, it's pretty much guy talk, which is pretty much, there's, like, some misogyny and, jokes that are not really that appropriate nowadays. So it's, like, I can definitely see where it's coming from. But just, like, the pure hockey side of it, like, there's some really good interviews, and, like, it's mixed bag sometimes.
Right, and that's going to happen, especially in a company like that.
where they kind of foster, kind of similar to the Stuns.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They foster that culture.
Boys' locker room kind of mentality,
Oh, 100%.
Which, it shouldn't be that way, but...
Absolutely not.
Anyways. You want to talk about some baseball?
Oh, real quick, we've reached the top of the hour, and you know what that means?
What does that mean?
That means that you are listening. I have to remind you that that you are listening to Triple Threat on WXJM Harrisonburg 88.7 FM and WXJM.org. As I mentioned, this is Triple Threat, hosted by me, Jeremy, and my two friends and co-hosts,
Shane.
And
Hayden.
Wow, how excellent!
Let's get on to the baseball talk.
You want to kick us into some baseball?
All right, let's start with some news.
I love news.
The Atlanta Braves won the World Series.
They sure did.
Hey.
Congrats to them. Other news?
Whoa, real quick. Are we just going to blow by the fact that I got it right? Just going to,
Oh, yeah,
gonna-
Braves in 6, you said?
Braves in 6.
Just
Congrats.
Thank you. I needed that acknowledgement.
Anyways, Wade Miley, for those of you not familiar.
Jorge Soler, World Series MVP.
Oh, yeah, that too.
I mean, that's
That's kind of important.
Just wanted to tack that in there, make sure he got the praise he deserved.
Yeah,
he hit a literal out of the park home run.
Yeah.
In game 6.
Not a big deal.
Game winning out of the park home run.
No biggie.
Not a big deal.
Not a big deal. It's beautiful home run. Not the only thing he did, which is, he won World Series MVP. But
It's the cherry on top.
it is the cherry on top. Anyway, sorry, didn't mean to interrupt. Just wanted to
All
finish
good, all
off the
good.
World Series.
The Reds announced that they're going to be cutting salary. Literally the day after, the World Series. They're like, hey, by the way, we're going to be tanking. They traded away their Gold Glove catcher.
Who are the Reds?
Cincinnati.
Cincinnati Reds.
Okay.
Gold Glove catcher for nobody. It's just a nobody minor leaguer. And they waived and DFA'd their pitcher who had a 3.37 ERA and was, let me look.
What's ERA?
Earned run average.
Earned run average, yeah, I
He
got
was really good.
Real quick, explained DFA.
They were like, hey, we don't want to pick up your option, but, like, we don't want to pay you the $1 million buyout, so we're going to waive you knowing somebody's going to pick you up for free, which is exactly what somebody did. And
good deal.
The Cubs did that, and they literally just had to pick up his option for $10 million. And I'm trying to find did they change the layout on Baseball Reference?
Go to StatHead.
I hate it when that happens.
I just want to see.
What are you looking for?
So do you think this was the right move for them?
No, this guy's really good. He was like
player,
43% better than like the average starting pitcher.
So why would the Reds...
They're cutting salary.
They're cutting salary.
So they're just doing it to save money.
Yeah.
And I feel so bad for the general manager because, you know, he has no say in any of this.
Yeah,
He worked so hard to build a team there. They were good this season. They were like they probably should have made the playoffs. They just got really cold in the last month or so of the season, and they just couldn't win a game. And, you know, when that happens and St. Louis also goes on like a 20-game win streak, that spells doom for you, you know?
Yeah, he was 41% better than the average pitcher. That was the number I was looking for. Which, I mean,
it really is a shame.
For $10 million in baseball, like, you're having somebody who's 41% better, and, like, also, I'm pretty sure he's a lefty, too. Let me double check that. I think he's a lefty. Yeah, he's a lefty. A lefty who's 41% better than the average pitcher. That's, like, you can't get that. That does not grow on $10 million trees.
So they were, like, closer to being contenders than they were.
Yeah, they if they continued how they were playing, they should have made the playoffs.
Yeah,
that's painful.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then they just sold everybody, or trading away everybody for peanuts. Andrew Heaney is officially the first free agent signing. He went to the Dodgers for $8.5 million. He's kind of like a bounce back candidate type guy who didn't have a great season last year, but has always had like the, is this the year that he finally breaks out type guy?
Oh, one of those guys.
He's one of those guys. And so the Dodgers paid him $8.5 million, hoping that they finally are the ones who make it.
Is that a long deal? Is that like 2 years?
1 year.
1 year? All right.
1 year. The Cardinals have 5 players who won a Gold Glove.
Yeah, it's a lot of
Best
people.
defender in their position, which is a lot. I think that's the most that's ever happened.
Yep.
For a single team.
Yeah.
There were some upsets for that. All of that. Yuli Gurriel won at first base for the Astros. But Jacob Stallings won it at catcher. He's tied for the tallest catcher.
That's a good stat.
How tall is he?
6'8".
I don't know.
6'8"?
No, I don't know. I don't think so.
He's a tall guy.
I don't think he's 6'8", but that number sounds right for some reason.
6'8", let me tell you. He is 6'5".
I was close.
Oh, okay.
He's tied for the tallest catcher
Still
to ever win a Gold
really
Glove.
Tall.
Yeah.
You know, fun, just random stats there. The MLB made their second economics proposal to the the MLBPA made this economics proposal. This is all over like kind of stuff like arbitration, when players hit free agency, salary floors and caps, minor league salaries, rookie salaries. I think one of the things that the MLBPA are going to try to crack down on, but I don't think they're going to be able to, is signing like young players to massive extensions for like no money.
Because what's the entry level deal like? So like how young can you give a player an entry level deal, and when can you?
You can give them whenever.
So there's like no entry level deal like that's required.
Or what? You have to be like
MLB?
16.
You have to be 16 if you're an international player, and you didn't sign with like one of the Japanese or the Korean leagues. And then if you're 16, you can sign with a major league organization for whatever signing bonus. And then you play in the minors until you're big league ready, and then you will be making $555,000. and that is the rookie salary. But what
Is there like a term for that? Like, like how long that contract can be?
like in the minors?
Yeah, because I know for the
I think it's 6 years before you can become a free agent.
Okay. So they're 22 when they're getting these massive deals. If you sign them at 16, or is that the typical process?
No.
So Ronald Acuna Jr., right? He was, I believe, 22.
He's super young.
Super young. Typically, like, the average debut age is, like, 24.
Yeah.
Like, that's typically, if you make the majors at 24, like, you can have a solid big league career still. He made his debut around 22, and he signed I think it was 10-year, $109 million deal, which in baseball, that is peanuts for a player. He's an MVP caliber player.
Yeah.
And he signed for peanuts. The second baseman signed for even less in the same amount.
Would have won the MVP if he didn't tear his ACL halfway through the season.
Yeah, exactly. Like, he's a guy who can do 40-40, which is hit 40 home runs and steal 40 bases. He could do that easily over a full season.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because it's ridiculous how they don't have like any caps on that kind of deal.
And it's like I don't know how to explain it. There's pros and cons. Pros is like, this guy's getting life-changing money for him and his family.
Yeah.
Like, that is an insane amount of money, no matter how you slice it. Yeah, he would have been making more, but it's a guarantee where if, like, he doesn't come back from this injury and he's just not good,
Yeah.
he still has that guaranteed money.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that's good about the MLB. All contracts are fully guaranteed. So.
But, also, like, let's say he doesn't get hurt ever again, and he goes on to be the best player since Barry Bonds, Like, it's just, it sucks, but, I think it's going to be here to stay, unfortunately.
Well, I don't really see a problem with that, because, like, good teams, you take... Well, actually, if there's a cap, never mind.
Right, there's no cap. That's the problem.
So it doesn't matter.
See, the main issue with it is, like you said, they're signing these guys to, like, 10-year, super-duper long deals that carries them basically through their prime.
He'll be 30 when he hits free agency.
So then,
Let's not...
just, carries them through a large portion of their prime, right? And then when they finally hit the free agent market and can hit and make those big bucks, they'll still make it if they have the level that they're at. But they're not always going to. They're not going to have, 2 or 3 contracts ahead of them. They might only have 1 super big contract or 2 big contracts, as opposed to getting 2 contracts in your 20s and maybe 2 in your 30s or something like that.
Well, it's just like, if you're a big name player, like, you're gonna get absolutely paid regardless. But it's just like, again, to people like us, and to somebody who's like not a fan and whose like concept of how much money a player's worth is no idea. It's just like you're gonna make $100 million over the course of your career.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just like, okay, if there's new rules, maybe this guy could make even more. But it's just like, but you're already loaded for life. Like, I don't see the value in an extra, $50 million if you're already.
You don't see the value in an extra $50 million.
But it's just like, once you have that much money, it's just like.
I mean, you set up you and your family. It's
because
less about like it's unfair to the player a little bit.
Yeah.
But it's also like he's set for life and he has that guarantee where if he gets hurt. There was a whole big deal about the Mariners and how they were suppressing their top prospect, Jared Kelenich's service time, so they could have an extra year of control over him, because he would not sign one of these types of extensions where they signed him for 8-9 years for a ton of money, and instead he's like, no, I'm going to bet on myself and, just be amazing in the big leagues, and I will get that money and more. And so that's kind of like, that's where the issue was. And because, like, the president of operations admitted that they did that. And that's kind of where the issue kind of comes from, I guess.
Yeah.
All right.
We're going to talk about qualifying offers real quick, and then we can do...
Go for it.
So, a bunch of qualifying offers went out. This is the most, I think, since the 2016 offseason.
I'm sorry, real quick. I don't know if you're going to get to this, but Buster Posey retired.
Yes. Oh, I completely forgot.
Sorry. Buster Posey retired. Incredible career. Won, what, three World Series?
3 World Series.
3 World Series with the Giants. I mean, I don't know. You were talking about his career stats. Probably a Hall of Famer. In my opinion, he's a Hall of Famer. I don't know how...
He's the best catcher of this generation.
Yeah.
He just didn't play for a long time because he wants to go spend time with his family.
He still probably could have played at an elite level for a little while longer, but better to retire too soon than too late, you know?
It's also good to retire on your own terms.
Exactly. That's what I mean by that. You know, you don't want to retire because you physically can't play.
Or no organization wanted to give you a contract.
Right. That kind of thing. Incredible career.
Yeah, congrats to him.
Yeah. Hope he enjoys his retirement. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Oh, no, you're fine. Thank you for bringing up Buster Posey. Great player. Anyways, back to qualifying offers. I think it was like 16 players received qualifying offers, which is a lot. And for those of you who don't know, a qualifying offer is kind of like a tax on like the top players, and it punishes like the good, larger market teams more than the bad market teams. And essentially, the players receive the $18.4 million qualifying offer, and then they can accept or decline it. If they decline it and they sign for a separate team, the team that signs that player then loses a draft pick, and the original team gains a draft pick. If they accept a qualifying offer, they get the $18.4 million for 1 year, or they can then sign a longer deal for more money, or a 1 year, $20 million deal for some reason, and no draft picks exchange hands. And it's kind of to make these free agents not sign with other teams and kind of suppress the salaries a little bit. But, you know. Ooh, draft picks, yay.
Does it work?
Yeah, I think there's like a weird stat where like, here, it was, I can pull it up, but I don't know how much time do we have.
Yeah,
we don't have a lot of time.
17 minutes.
You got time. Don't rush.
Nah.
Don't rush.
A bunch of players usually re-sign with their teams.
Right.
Especially if it's like they're kind of on the fence if they're going to actually make that much money. Like Kevin Gausman last year, the offseason before this, was not going to make $18.4 million in a single year. He might have gotten like a longer, like 3 for 45 type deal, but he wasn't going to get something that big. And now he took that qualifying offer, and he's probably going to make a 4 for 60. So, you know, sometimes you just bet on yourself and take that money and prove yourself if you're better.
Yeah.
Yeah, fun stuff.
Super fun stuff. I got something. Clayton Kershaw did not receive a qualifying
A
offer.
lot of guys didn't. That was, like, weird.
There's some big guys that didn't.
Like John Gray,
Right.
who they've kept in their organization, the Rockies, for years. Didn't trade him at the deadline, even though they probably could have gotten something. And didn't give him the qualifying offer.
Yeah, so there were surprising moves. There were some not so surprising moves. But the qualifying offer, how long does that period last? Is that like a...
I think they have until, like, Friday.
All right. So do you think there's going to be a few more, or do you think we're done?
Oh, no, you can't issue anymore.
Right.
But they have until, like, Friday to accept.
All right.
Or decline. The weird one was Raisel Iglesias.
Mm-hmm.
He's a reliever for the Angels.
Did they qualifying offer him?
They gave him a qualifying offer.
Ooh.
If he's gonna take that, without a doubt. Like, I would be genuinely surprised if he.
What's a reliever again?
Backup pitcher.
Okay.
He's like a really good closer, but like
Okay.
not an $18.4 million closer.
Gotcha.
He had a really good season last year.
He did, but like, I'm not a fan of giving relievers like massive deals like that. Like, look at Craig Kimbrell.
He also got the qualifying offer, or they picked up his option.
And they picked up his option, but he did get a qualifying offer initially, and that's part of the reason why he was so bad for so long. was because his routine was all messed up.
Hmm.
Yeah. Fun stuff. A bunch of weird names in there, but we'll talk about that if they accept or decline.
Right.
Yeah. You want to talk about football, Jeremy?
I do. I want to run through some stuff real quick.
All right.
Henry Ruggs happened this week.
Oh,
Charged with a DUI resulting in a death after a fatal car crash. Obviously, he was released. He is facing prison time, 2 to 20 years.
That's
it's a long
large
time.
range.
Yeah, but he's gonna get. He was going 156 miles an hour,
Yeah.
and his blood alcohol level was 2 times the legal limit. He also killed a woman and a dog. There were also 2 more felony charges added to him, and a gun charge in relation to the fatal crash. So these are things stacking and stacking and stacking, which really sucks because he showed a lot of promise. He was really good. He went out as he always was, fast.
I mean, Derek Carr had a good statement, though.
Right, he was the speedster receiver, you know? He was deep threat, kind of like a Deshaun Jackson kind of guy. But that doesn't even make waves compared to the biggest story of the week, which was Aaron Rodgers.
Oh, I would like to mention
Go for it.
The victim's name was Tina Tintor. So
I didn't know the victim's name.
I feel like it's
No, that's important.
It's important.
I hadn't seen her name anywhere.
Yeah. So this is not just it's someone's life, someone's daughter.
Right.
So may she rest in peace and God have mercy on her family.
Absolutely. But like I said, that doesn't even hold the candle to the biggest story of the week, Aaron Rodgers.
Which it shouldn't be.
It shouldn't be.
It shouldn't be.
Because it just got out of hand. And I know you have opinions on this, Hayden.
Yeah.
You haven't talked to me about it, but I'm assuming you have opinions on this too. Please chime in once I get the backstory.
Gotcha.
Aaron Rodgers, diagnosed with COVID. It came out that he wasn't vaccinated, but in August he did say that he, quote, was immunized. Now, you take that how you want, but I take that as unvaccinated. The NFL did not consider him vaccinated, though.
So nobody knew he wasn't.
People knew.
They just didn't say anything.
The NFL considered him not vaccinated. So everyone in the NFL knew he was not vaccinated.
Yeah.
I don't think the general public knew, though.
General public did not, because he said in August, I'm immunized, which normal person, you, me, Shane, I'd assume that means he's vaccinated, wouldn't you?
With COVID, no.
Because immunization...
I know it's technically different, but the way he said it,
Exactly, the way he said it is the reason why I don't think he was vaccinated now.
I love the way how the head coach deflected the question.
Well, no, it's not his job to answer that.
I know.
That is on Aaron.
I know. So it was just like, that's a good question. You should ask Aaron that. I'm like, what a smooth...
Right, that's the right answer.
It's
You
the right
shouldn't
answer,
answer for someone else's health,
But it's like... I don't really have any strong opinions on it, just because with the amount of, anti-vaxxers drama that's gone on, it's just... At this point, please get vaccinated, but if you're not, just be upfront and honest about it.
Right. And I think that's the biggest problem here,
Yeah.
that he wasn't upfront and honest.
I don't think that was the biggest problem, but continue.
Sorry. He claims he was allergic to an ingredient in both the Pfizer and the Moderna vaccine. So I'm assuming he's allergic to some kind of mRNA thing, because that's the only thing that they have that J&J doesn't.
Yeah.
That's why he didn't take those, and he said he didn't feel comfortable taking the J&J after it had gotten pulled in August and was back on the market later, Which I guess is a valid concern, but also get vaccinated.
Yeah.
Well, does he have a valid...
He didn't say what he didn't say what ingredient he was allergic to. He just said he was.
Fair enough.
He said that he took advice from Joe Rogan on how to fix it.
Oh, never mind. You lost all.
He took ivermectin, zinc, and monoclonal or whatever. I don't know exactly.
Hydrochloroquine? Oh,
monoclonal or whatever.
All sympathy.
Dang it, I'm trying to remember
Treatments.
what it is.
It's something like that.
This is what I don't get about people. It's like, licensed medical professionals who's been spending years and have spent
Or
thousands
Joe
of
Rogan.
dollars of loans
Monoclonal
on
antibodies.
medical research, who spent their lives researching this stuff.
Can we let him keep going? Let him keep going, please. It gets worse. It
Years-
gets worse. Just
Yeah. No,
And
I want you to finish this before.
they some guy who has a podcast has more credibility than these doctors who've done all the stuff I've said before.
Yeah. In a quote, he said, I believe strongly in body autonomy and the ability to make choices for your body, not to have an acquiescence to some woke culture or crazed group of individuals who say you have to do something. Health is not a one-size-fit-all for everybody, and for me it involves a lot of study in the off-season. I mean, there's other... He goes on to say, if my plan was to say, regarding to the immunized quote, he basically said, I was cut off. If I was able to keep going, my plan was to say that I have been immunized. It wasn't some sort of ruse. It was the truth. I'll get into the whole immunization thing in a second. But if there had been a follow-up to my statement that I'd been immunized, I would have responded with this. I would have said, look, I'm not some sort of anti-vax flat earther. I'm somebody who's a critical thinker. What does that even mean?
Mm-hmm.
What, I mean,
How was he immunized, by the way? Does he say?
yeah, with the Joe Rogan stuff, the zinc and the
Monoclonal
That's
antibodies.
not.
right and the ivermectin and stuff. He also said he took steps.
I guarantee you, there's
he
no
also said
medical proof or
No.
study that proves that BS.
No, there's not. There absolutely isn't. I don't know, Hayden. You haven't. What are your thoughts on this?
Okay. So, something that Jeremy did not bring up. Before I get into this, if he's actually allergic to these things, I understand his concerns. I understand why he's not vaccinated. If he's actually allergic to these things and his fear of the safety of the J&J, even though I would still personally still take it, I'm not going to one to judge. All right? But when you quote Martin Luther King Jr.
Right. That's
about standing up against laws that you think are unjust or crazy, and then compare your actions to said Martin Luther King Jr. quote, that is where I draw the line, and that's where I become a little frustrated.
I did forget to write that down. That's a little bit of important information.
Yeah, it's a bit of a
That was where I was like, oh, this is like kind of funny. Like, just, Aaron Rodgers talking about how he's like a Joe Rogan head, And then he did that.
Right.
And that's where I'm like, hey, man, maybe we need to have a talk. And that's my thoughts on that. That was...
Yeah, to reemphasize your point, like, if he's actually allergic to, like, I understand the concerns with the vaccine. Like, some people have had horrible reactions to it. So I understand, like, you may not be able to get it because of those medical reasons. But saying you're a critical thinker,
Yes.
in spite of, professionals who've dedicated their entire lives researching vaccines and pandemics, like, they've already done the work for you.
Yeah.
I just don't get why people just don't trust people who've dedicated their entire lives to this research.
So not them.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like you're not a critical thinker because you don't even need to think that hard. They've already done the job for you.
Right. And he had a partnership with a local Green Bay healthcare center. Not anymore. He does not have that partnership
Yeah, I would assume
anymore.
so.
Yeah, they cut him Saturday or Sunday, which, yes,
Yeah.
obviously. This is not something you want your healthcare center to be affiliated with.
Yeah.
So, there's blowbacks to this. He missed the game. That's just the least of the concerns. He might miss another game. Doesn't matter. That's just...
They're still a playoff team, it's fine.
Right. But, still, come on, man. You have so much influence over people. You have to know that.
Come on, man.
Yeah, thank you. There you go, Shane. Yeah. But, he is... He you hate to say it, but athletes have almost as much influence as anybody else in this world. Right?
Yeah.
Especially a star athlete like him. People will listen to him and do what he says.
Yeah.
And it's just a shame that he's leading people down this path. It really is. You know?
On that topic, it's very interesting how people like interpret that, because like some people are like, oh, you have this platform, you have to use it. And I'm like, no, they don't, because sometimes they're not the most qualified to speak about certain topics using their platform.
Right. I'm not saying they need to use their platform,
but I'm just saying
use it right.
It's an interesting discussion on how athletes should and should they use their platform.
Right.
It's a good topic to debate.
Right. And then real quick, some other minor news. Michael Thomas out for the season. Odell Beckham was cut. He's on waivers now. He should clear him. He wants to go to a contender. And coming out today, another Raiders piece of news. Former first-round pick Damon Arnett was cut after a video of him made it online making death threats while brandishing a gun.
Fun.
Super fun. So that's Henry Ruggs and Damon Arnett, both the two first-round picks of the Raiders in 2020. They're both gone this week. The Raiders are a mess. It really is a shame.
Yeah.
They had so much ahead of them, you know?
And they lost to the Giants.
They did lose. Damon Arnett might be able to recover from this because it's not nearly as bad as what Ruggs did. But they did lose to the Giants.
I had to make sure I got that in there for you.
It was a really weird week this week. I got like a few minutes to run into this. I'm gonna run real quick. Super weird week. The good teams played bad. The Rams looked really bad and they lost. Granted, the Titans are good. You know, I can't take too much stock into that. But the Bills, they lost to the Jags. You want to guess what the final score was?
It was like low scoring. It was like 9-6.
What do you think?
I have no clue.
It was 9-6. You can't lose to the Jags when they only put up 9 points. You know?
Yeah.
This is not like some world-beating team. This is a bad team. You know? It's just a really, really weird week. The Bears tonight, they look. Justin Fields is going to be good.
Mm-hmm.
After I watched, Justin Fields is going to be good.
Yeah.
It took him a few weeks. He's in it.
A 65-yard field goal.
It's so close.
Almost. God, I would have been so happy if that went in.
No, it was a really good game this Monday. It was a really interesting weekend of football. A really weird weekend of football. We got to see Jordan Love play. He was,
The Vikings lost. I'm very upset. I've given up all hope in the season
They
already.
like to lose in overtime. It's good for them, you know. They like to tease their fans, you know.
Oh yes.
Oh wow, look at us. We made it to overtime.
I've given up on the season. I'm done. I am done.
Yeah, but Jordan Love looked okay. He threw a touchdown. That was super cool. That's about it. It was a really low-scoring game.
That's his first game.
James Conner scored 3 touchdowns. Who would have guessed that? But, you know, that's how it is. This has been Triple Threat on WXJM, 88.7 FM Harrisonburg, and WXJM.org. Come check us out on YouTube at Triple Threat Show. Little pencil-drawn symbol if you can't find it. We got a few videos. We'll post the full show and clips. But this has been Triple Threat from Jeremy, Shane, and Hayden. I hope you have a good night. We'll talk to you next week.